Hi everyone, it's Katrina. Number 10. Monte Alto. The ancient people of Monte Alto had an unusual understanding of magnetism. The pre-Maya civilization possessed incredible advanced knowledge that many societies wouldn't know for thousands of years to come. In fact, scientists still don't completely understand the properties that rule magnetic fields. The civilization of Monte Alto lived centuries before the Maya in modern-day Guatemala. They flourished between 500 BC and 100 BC, then slowly faded into historic obscurity. But before they vanished, they experimented with magnets. There are stone sculptures and gigantic stone heads that they left behind that are mysteriously magnetized. These ancient people used very specific stones that had been magnetized by lightning strikes to build their sculptures. The culture became obsessed with it. They preferred to build their sculptures only with stones that exhibited what to them must have felt like a magical force. The Monte Alto were not the only early civilization to notice the peculiarity of magnetism. The Greek philosopher Thales of Miletus described the uncanny attraction between lodestone and iron in the 6th century BC. If the Greeks noticed it and the Mesoamerican civilizations noticed it, chances are other people did too. Unfortunately, we still don't know much about the Monte Alto culture. They lived in massive communities, built pyramids and other grand structures, and were ruled by an elite class who dictated local religions. They mostly lived along the Pacific coast and loved building giant stone heads just like the Olmec civilization. But we don't know what language they spoke, what they believed in, or what their obsession with magnetism was really all about. Number 9. Lost Hawaii. The true story of the Hawaiian Islands is much more mysterious than most people realize. The truth about Hawaii is that the islands were likely inhabited by a mysterious race of tiny humans known as Menehune. Legend describes these miniature people as dwarves, residing deep in the jungles and down in the hidden valleys. They were the first humans to live in Hawaii, possessing advanced knowledge of stone cutting and engineering. Many believe it was the Menehune, real-life dwarves, responsible for great works in Hawaii that have baffled specialists for years. For example, the Menehune Ditch on the island of Kaua'i. The Menehune Ditch looks like almost nothing today. It's a few smooth blocks of basalt stone that you wouldn't even notice if you walked by because they are so overgrown with grass. It looks like it could have been a wall or perhaps an ancient aqueduct. The one thing that's for sure is that it's unlike any other construction in Hawaii. The engineering technique was more advanced than the techniques used later by the Tahitian migrants in the 14th century. Whoever built this thing likely built other mighty marvels thousands of years ago, but they have since been destroyed by settlers and volcanic activity. The architects very well may have been the mysterious Menehune, an undocumented ancient species of human that looked more like the dwarves from Lord of the Rings. Number 8. The Vascones. The Vascones was not a civilization so much as a tribe of people whose history has largely been forgotten. This tribe lived in Europe during the Iron Age over 2,000 years ago. Specifically, they had their center in northern Spain. The Vascones lived in small mud brick houses and had a rudimentary understanding of architecture. The recent discovery of a life-size bronze hand has revealed some important new insights into their lost culture. The bronze hand is an artifact called the Hand of Irulegi. It was found by archaeologists with the Aranzadi Science Society during a dig near the city of Pamplona. The hand immediately captivated scientists because it's engraved with strange symbols. There are inscriptions that could reveal the root of one of the most mysterious languages in the world. Researchers say the inscriptions represent the oldest written form of Proto-Basque. This is a big deal for a few reasons. Scholars didn't think the Vascones ever created their own written language, but the Hand of Irulegi is evidence to the contrary. Professor Javier Velaza says the hand is evidence of a written Vasconic language. It was likely the base language or the earliest form of modern Basque, a language that is still spoken in Spain to this very day. The discovery changes the way scientists are looking at the Vascones. This may have not just been another early European tribe. This was an advanced people who created their own written words, something not many early civilizations knew how to do. Number 7. The Gedi Ruins. The Gedi Ruins in Kenya are buried in a lush forest alongside the Indian Ocean. The ruins were originally part of a thriving town founded in the 13th century. The whole place has been a troubling mystery for scientists who can't figure out why it was abandoned or even how it was developed. The ruins today consist of broken coral brick houses, a destroyed mosque, and the scraps of shockingly advanced infrastructure. The town had flushing toilets, running water in the houses, and expertly planned city streets. Archaeologists used to believe Africa was extremely far behind the rest of the world in the building of civilizations. But places like the Gedi Ruins prove otherwise. This place was a highly functioning urban metropolis, a city rich from trade and built by advanced humans who knew exactly what they were doing. To make things even stranger, archaeologists have found vases from Ming China, Venetian glass, and other artifacts from around the globe. There were even Muslim inhabitants in this coastal Kenyan town, showing it was likely very multicultural. But who in the world lived here? The answer is that nobody knows. The site was first discovered in 1948, but we still don't know who the civilization was or who built it. We also don't know why it was abruptly abandoned and left to its isolation. And now for number 6. But first, I want to give a big shout out to LA and Blaine Acevedo. Thanks so much for watching and supporting Origins Explained. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe and join the family. We'd love to have you. Number 6. The Pyramid Builders of the Amazon. Researchers with the German Archaeological Institute, headed by famed scientist Heiko Prumers, recently published some shocking information in Nature magazine about the Casarabe culture of the Amazon jungle. Archaeologists described a pair of settlements that had never been seen before, named Kotoka and Landivar. They also uncovered 24 smaller towns hiding underneath the thick jungle canopy of the Bolivian Amazon. The team did this by using light detection and ranging technology to create a three-dimensional map of the terrain. Studying the map allowed them to see any remains of structures, even ones buried under dense vegetation. It was a pretty big shock when they saw just how massive the Casarabe's territory really was. The culture developed around the year 500 AD, continued for nearly 1,000 years, and saw a massive change in the Amazon. It was always thought jungle dwellers in South America were primitive, living with the jungle and not altering their landscape that much. But that wasn't the case at all. The German researchers identified artificial hillocks 15 feet high, gigantic patches of terraformed land up to 22 hectares, ceremonial structures, civil centers, and even pyramids over 60 feet tall. The consensus here is that the Casarabe culture was not primitive at all. They perfected tropical urbanism in a way that has not been done since. Sadly, this hasn't solved the mystery of what happened to them or why they abandoned their jungle cities around 1400 AD. Number 5. The Minoans and the Lost City of Atlantis. 5,000 years ago, the first great civilization in Europe arose, a group of people called the Minoans. These mysterious early humans were unbelievably sophisticated. They are believed to have been the first Europeans to make their own written language, what we today call Linear A. They are also some of the first people to create paved roads and to blossom as a community of artisans, civic engineers, philosophers, sailors, and scientists. The Minoans, who lived on the Greek island of Crete, were advanced enough that most people believe they were the real inspiration behind the story of Atlantis. When Plato wrote about Atlantis over 2,000 years ago, the Minoans had already been gone for about a millennium. To the ancient Greeks, the Minoans would have been even more mysterious than they are to us, because the Greeks didn't have advanced archaeology and science. We know today that around 1600 BC, the Mediterranean experienced a calamity. A volcanic eruption went off on the island of Santorini, destroying the wealthy Minoan seaport of Akrotiri. The earthquake that caused the eruption also triggered a tsunami, bringing general devastation to the entire area and wiping out the Minoans in one brutal wave of death. This is likely the calamity that Plato talked about when describing Atlantis, making an undeniable connection between Atlantis and the Minoans. But the biggest mystery is still trying to figure out where the Minoans came from and how they were so much more sophisticated than any other culture of the day. Number 4. New discoveries at Sanxingdui. Sanxingdui was an ancient culture from the Bronze Age in China. The culture was first identified in 1928 when a farmer came across a mysterious deposit of jade relics while digging an irrigation ditch. Excavations around the original discovery were conducted in 1934, but it wouldn't be until 1986 that archaeologists found the real treasure. That was when they uncovered 2 sacrificial pits containing over 900 artifacts. I'm talking about a true treasure hoard of bronze, gold, and ivory. The treasures dated from between 2700 and 1000 BC. That means the Sanxingdui culture existed many centuries before the pits were made, then reached their peak thousands of years ago. This was before the pyramids were built in Egypt, making the Sanxingdui culture just as advanced as the Egyptians in terms of architecture and urbanism, maybe even more. Since 2019, Chinese archaeologists have been hard at work trying to excavate the entire site. So far, it appears to have been the Sanxingdui culture's only major city. But we don't know who these people were, where they came from, or what they believed in. There are so many questions left unanswered, and the discoveries made only raise more questions. In 2020, there were 6 new sacrificial pits found adjacent to the 2 original pits from 1986. They contained even more artifacts, many of them made from highly prized ivory. Researchers speculate that the culture believed in some mighty deity that craved offerings, and perhaps even demanded blood offerings. There is a high probability the mysterious Sanxingdui culture participated in human sacrifice. Number 3. Subterranean humans. Throughout history, people have taken to living underground for various reasons. When there isn't enough wood to build a house, people will tunnel into the earth. In places where the climate is too extreme to be out in the open, people seek shelter underground. In Turkey, there are great underground cities like Derinkuyu, designed to hold tens of thousands of people for prolonged periods of time. But has there ever been a subterranean civilization of ancient humans? According to expert Will Hunt, who wrote the book on human civilization underground, the answer is a little complicated. Most subterranean dwellings were not as complex as the ones found in Turkey. People have lived in natural underground caverns for as long as we've been evolving. And if there's something easy to dig into, like soft volcanic rock, ancient people tended to create cozy homes called dugouts. The truth is that it's entirely possible that there could have been a subterranean civilization of humans we haven't found yet. Living underground has not shown to cause any negative psychological side effects, as long as there's ample lighting and the rooms are big enough. Will Hunt even believes that in the next 30 years, modern humans will start burrowing underground more and more. It looks like the underground cities of Turkey will make a resurgence as humans go back into the earth. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Number 2. The Forgotten Kingdom of Ebla. In 2334 BC, the Akkadian Empire was founded by Sargon the Great in southern Mesopotamia. It grew to be one of the greatest empires in human history, stretching all the way to Anatolia. Across the Euphrates River was another civilization, one that scientists didn't know about until much recently. Because up until the 1960s, archaeologists viewed Syria, on the other side of the old Akkadian border, as nothing but a backwater where no civilization could have possibly thrived. It wasn't until Italian archaeologist Paolo Mattier took an interest that the forgotten kingdom of Ebla was finally identified. This came with the discovery of Tel Mardik in 1964, about 37 miles from Aleppo. Excavations continued for 4 years until the discovery of a monumental statue in 1968. The statue was dedicated to the goddess Ishtar, commissioned by King Ibit-Lim of Ebla. At this point, archaeologists were in agreement that Syria had a lot more to offer. There was clearly a great society here with their own pantheon of gods, their own king, and their own grand cities. Even more shocking was the revelation that Ebla had been in direct contact with Akkad, as is mentioned in Akkadian texts. We now know that Ebla existed around 4,400 years ago at the latest. They had trading partners across the world, with links as far as Egypt and Afghanistan. They practiced amazing craftsmanship, creating fine works out of gold, ivory, and even lapis lazuli. but their mighty civilization came to an end around 2000 BC, when the Akkadians stole their land and ruined their city. Number 1. The Nazca. The Nazca people of Peru flourished starting around the 2nd century BC and continued living relatively peacefully until about 700. And while they are most famous for the mysterious geoglyphs they left carved into the earth, they were a lot more than that. They made distinctive pottery, built impressive urban cities like Kaua'i and Ventilla. They spread all through the Nazca region and were made up largely of chiefdoms. It was a lot of individual groups connected through mutual interest and shared cultural coherence. The most shocking part is that there were very few of them. Experts have guessed there were only about 25,000 people in total in Nazca, divided throughout small villages built near irrigated floodplains. The one thing the Nazca excelled at is textiles. Archaeologists have found evidence that they traded their textiles with groups in the highlands and even further away. The Nazca also practiced mummification, wrapping their dead in cloth and burying them in deep shafts, much like how the Egyptians did it. And then, of course, there are the Nazca lines, a group of dozens of geoglyphs carved into the desert with strange symbols and weird creatures. Experts still don't understand what the purpose of these lines were, nor really how the Nazca built them when you can't even see the shape unless you're flying hundreds of feet above. Thanks for watching! What's your favorite lost ancient civilization? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. See you next time. Bye!